no matter the location. From O-A-K-L-A to L-V, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what's going on? Today's show, I'm going to be breaking down the 5 worst Raiders contracts entering the 2021 season. I wouldn't be able to do this show, though, if it wasn't for our awesome sponsor, Magic Spoon. If you guys are looking for healthy cereal, these guys not only created it, they've perfected it. And if you want healthy cereal and an awesome deal, head on over to magicspoon.com/Raiders, where you guys can get $5 off your very first order. That link is in the comments. It's in the description. If you have any questions whatsoever about what flavor you should get, you can always hit me up at Mitchell Renz 365. All right, let's go now. 5 all the way down to 1. At number 5, it's Kenyan Drake. And let me just say this, because I know people are going to get mad at me in the comments. I love Kenyan Drake. He is a great player, and he's going to be able to help out this roster a lot. The biggest reason why he makes this list here is because you're paying a backup running back 2 years, you gave him $11 million, worth up to $14.5 million. If you could tell me right now I could have taken that money and invested it on the defensive side of the football, that's where I would have gone. Do I think Drake's going to contribute? Yes, I do. Am I excited to see how they use him as a joker? Yes, I absolutely am. But the day that the Raiders drafted Lynn Bowden Jr., that simply did not work out. They've been looking for a replacement ever since. That's what you're going to get here in Drake. Last season, 10 touchdowns on the ground. Gruden loves what he's going to be able to bring from a pass-catching element as well. He's going to be moving all over the football field. He is going to help the team. However, when you look at a lot of the other deals that happened this offseason, you have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, we overpaid for Kenyan Drake. In terms of some of these free agent running back contracts, Drake, 2 years, $11 million. Chris Carson, he was 2 years, $10.4 million. He's a starter. Jamal Williams, 2 years, $6 million. Leonard Fournette, 1 year, $3.25 million. And then Mike Davis, 2 year, $5.5 million. I try to take the biggest deals, if you will. In terms of the guaranteed dollars, though, it's really not even close. Drake got $11 million guaranteed. Carson got 5.5. Williams, Fournette. I think there'd be a lot of people actually would make the argument that Fournette might be a better running back than Kenyan Drake. And in terms of the overall guaranteed, you just simply have to be able to look at the dollars and say, okay, Drake's a good player, but let's face it, the Raiders overpaid him. Now, before I get into some of these other players, I do want to tell you, hey, you don't got to worry about overpaying for Magic Spoon thanks to our deal. $5 off your very first order at magicspoon.com/Raiders. If anybody wants to know what some of my favorite flavors are, the peanut butter, the cocoa are absolutely killing it in the game. I actually have cocoa on me right now. The reason why I love Magic Spoon is not only because it tastes great, but also it is really, really healthy for you guys. Only 4 grams of net carbs, 0 grams of sugar. I don't know about y'all, but when I eat a whole bunch of sugar, I break out, especially, this might surprise some people, I do wear makeup so I don't shine on my show. So makeup and then unhealthy cereal, man, I look like I'm hitting puberty all over again. But luckily, with no sugar in this stuff, you guys are going to be able to eat whatever the heck you want and only 140 calories per bowl. It's at magicspoon.com/Raiders. Now, in terms of some other flavors that you guys can go out and try, the cinnamon tastes just like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Frosted, if anybody likes Frosted Flakes, that was a cereal that I ate all the time as a kid. Blueberry, if anybody's a big fan of that Blueberry Crunch from Captain Crunch, tastes just like it. But I love chocolate. I love peanut butter. I mix those together, get my Reese's Puff action on. The link, though, magicspoon.com/Raiders. In the comments, it's in the description. It's a cereal so good that it might even be able to help Trent Brown get into shape. All right, let's go to number 4 on my list. It's Andre James. Current contract, 3 years, $12.5 million, $6 million guaranteed. And this is going to be another one that people are like, wait a minute, Mitch, why would you put Andre James on this list? We haven't even seen him play yet. That's actually the main reason why I am putting him on this list. Do I think James is going to be a good player? Yes, I do. However, when I saw a 3-year extension, or technically a 2-year extension, you give him that extra year because he still had 1 year left on his deal. I'm like, man, that's kind of a lot of money to give a player who you haven't really seen play a lot, and when he has played, it's been actually pretty freaking bad. So here's the 19th highest paid center in the league. Does not have a lot of track record. He's going to have big shoes to fill on Rodney Hudson. Hudson was the worst run-blocking center last year, but it was also one of the best pass-blocking centers. The reason why you saw the Raiders make this switch is because younger, and they're hoping that Andre James can play well. The issue is you really got to go back to 2019 to get any kind of tape on James. And in 116 total snaps, according to Pro Football Focus, his grade was a 23.4 overall. Yes, 23.4. That pass blocking grade, that is not a typo. 1.9. I don't know how you do 1.9, but it was that freaking bad. Run blocking grade, 32.0. Now, was he better in 2020 in his, one limited snap? Was he better in practice as well from people that I talked to? Yes, absolutely. Were the Raiders confident in moving on from Hudson because they believe James can be good? Yes, they absolutely do. However, you're still paying somebody who you really have never seen play. You gave him a 3-year extension, $12.5 million. It's kind of a lot of money for literally no output whatsoever yet. So how about this, y'all? I want you to tell me which player has the worst contract on the team. And I'm going to make this the pinned comment of this video. So what does that mean? It means as soon as you come across this bad boy, the very first comment on this YouTube video is going to be around which players has the worst contract. So please go ahead, let me know why you're getting hit with that YouTube ad break. Coming up here on the Raiders Report, we got the 3 worst Raiders contracts entering the 2021 season. I could have went a lot of different ways with this one. I'm also actually going to sprinkle in some players that didn't quite make the list, but need to be mentioned as well. At number 3, I got Cory Littleton. The Raiders signed him to a 3-year, $35.5 million deal in 2020. He's scheduled to make $9.3 million. Now, the Raiders were able to restructure his contract last year, so his base wasn't as high. In 2022, he's going to make close to $15 million because of the way that they restructured some of his contracts. But right now, he is the 12th highest paid inside linebacker. The reason why I'm going to label him as an inside linebacker for the sake of this video is simply because when you put linebackers and then edge rushers together, they get paid totally different. And I know Cory in some aspects is being reported as potentially could play some edge. He's a linebacker, so 12th highest paid linebacker. The biggest issue is this. You didn't get the 12th best linebacker in the league, and you could have actually made the argument that Littleton was probably a bottom 5 linebacker last year. Now, I was super excited when the Raiders made this move because I still think Littleton is a hell of a player. I think he is going to be worth that money because of the defensive scheme he's in now. But he really, really struggled in the Paul Guenther system. I'm hoping Gus Bradley can get the best out of him. Because let's face it, you're paying for this type of production here. 2018, 2019 when he was with the Rams. Over 125 tackles, over 3.5 sacks, over 2 interceptions, pass breakups. He could cover tight ends. He could cover running backs. He looked like one of the most dynamic linebackers in the league. And then you got what the Raiders got last year. No sacks, no interceptions, not even a pass breakup, and just looked like an absolute liability on the football field. So in terms of 2019 to 2020 from PFF grades, you're hoping that you can get back to the 2019 version. Snaps, advantage, obviously 2019, but I wanted a coverage linebacker. And let's face it, that's just simply not what Littleton was able to bring. Now, again, you're hoping for an extra year, a little bit more of a normal offseason. You're going to get a little bit better. Plus, 3 out of his best 4 games last year were all without Paul Guenther. I have confidence in Littleton, and he is one of my favorite players. But if you're looking at it just from a contract standpoint alone and what the Raiders have got, you have to say that so far, Littleton's been one of the worst contracts. Now, in terms of the overall coverage grade, 83.1 in 2018, 82.3 in 2019, and then that career low, 49.7 coverage grade. It needs to get better. It will get better. But I know there's going to be a lot of people that are mad at me for putting Littleton in here. However, you're lying to yourself if you're saying so far he's been worth the contract. But what do y'all think here? Will Littleton have a bounce-back season? I want you to go down in the comment section and type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm going to simply say this, yes, because he simply can't get much worse than what he was last season. All right, let's go to number 2 on my list here, the worst contracts entering the 2021 season. It's Jalen Richard. So he's still got 1 year, $3.5 million left on his deal. Richard is another player that offers a lot in the locker room. He's a good dude on and off the field, gives you some special teams ability as well. But, let's face it. You can't give me an argument that if you're going to pay Kenyan Drake the amount of money that you're paying him, 2 years, $11 million, up to $14.5, then that means you can also pay your third-string running back $3.5 million. If it was just Jalen Richard as our RB2, he wouldn't be on this list. But since he is the RB3, that's where I get into the issue here. Now, if you do decide to cut Richard, it's going to cost you $1.13 million, which is maybe one of the reasons why he's still left on this roster. But if you're going to pay Drake that money, I want Drake on the field for passing downs. Not that Richard's not a great, 2-minute warning running back, or he's not great in pass protection. He is. But if you plan on spending all that money on Jacobs, and if you spend all this money on Drake, where are you going to get these opportunities for Richard? They're just simply not going to come. And then when you look and see what the Raiders have done the last few seasons in terms of carries and receptions, his numbers have been going down, right? I mean, in 2016, he had 83 carries, 491 yards. You see a trend here, 56 carries, 55 carries, 39, 22. I mean, if that trend continues, you're telling me you're going to pay somebody over $3.5 million to get less than 45, 50 touches? That's not a good investment of your money. And then receptions of yards, like this has always been the area of Richard's game where he's really been able to show and flourish. 2018, he had that great year simply because the Raiders didn't have a lot of options. 2019, 36 grabs, the first year of Jacobs. Then this past season, Josh was able to take that next step and be a better pass-catching running back, but like 19 catches. That's not good whatsoever. And then punt return stats, right? Because, again, you are talking about a special teams ability. Last season was the first year for the Raiders that he wasn't on the field for punt returns, but it's because Hunter Renfrow took that next step. Kick returns, he did have 10 kick returns, 240 yards. Like, that's good numbers. But again, I said this probably already 10 times on the show, I'm not paying somebody $3.5 million to get 10 returns and then maybe 30 touches on offense. It's a bad investment of your money overall. All right, y'all, we're trying to get to 80,000 subscribers here on the Raiders Report. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that big red button underneath this video that says subscribe. Trying to keep you guys updated during the entire offseason. I know it's the middle of July, but pretty soon the videos will start to be ramp up a little bit more. We're going to be live for preseason games. We're going to be live for normal games as well, and we're going to be doing a whole bunch of giveaways during the entire season. So make sure you hit that big red button and subscribe. Now, this video is all around some of the worst contracts in 2021, but I hate being a hater, so if you guys could also go out and check out the Raiders' best contracts in 2021, it looks like this. Spoiler alert, Darren Waller's on this video simply because that man is a bad, bad man, but with a hell of a contract. The worst contract on the Raiders entering the 2021 season is around Carl Nassib. They signed him to a 1-year, $25 million deal. In terms of his cap hit this season, it's actually not that bad at $4.9 million, but that's simply because the Raiders told Nassib, either you restructure your contract or we got to cut you outright. But I know a lot of people out there like, why can't the Raiders just cut Nassib? Why can't they do it? It's pretty simple. You either pay Nassib $4.9 million to be on your team, to add some depth, or you can pay Carl Nassib $10.4 million to cut him. So either he's on the team for $4.9, or you can cut him, and it's still going to cost you $10.4 million. That's why he is still on this roster. Now, this was a player when he was coming out of Penn State that I followed very closely, and he's built more for a 3-4 linebacking scheme. I wasn't too excited about the signing and free agency, but I had my fingers crossed. I was hoping that maybe Gruden was going to be able to mix and match here because he is a bit taller of a player. How are the Raiders going to use him? But they didn't really use him all that well, even though he played in 448 snaps last year, which I believe was second most on the team. Bad fit, and I guess he wasn't practicing all that well either, which, you know, Gruden's kind of old school, so he didn't like that too much. But in 2020 PFF grades, total snaps, 448. Overall grade, 66.1. Rush defense, pass defense. I will be 100% legitimate with you. Nassib gets way too much hate because he was actually a lot better than what a lot of people said. However, he's not even close to being worth the 3 years, $25 million that the Raiders gave him. So over his last 5 seasons, okay, the Browns, and then you got the Bucs. You paid for the Buccaneers type of production. However, the Bucs had a lot more talent on that defense, and they ran a 3-4, which is really what Nassib was a little bit better at being able to do. Stand up and then go after and get the quarterback. If the Raiders want to incorporate a 3-4 front, I actually could potentially see Nassib and then Yannick Ngakoue on the outsides, and then maybe you stack up Crosby, Cleveland Ferrell, Solomon Thomas on the inside and really try to get more of a NASCAR package. Could be something, though, to keep in mind. All right, y'all, if you made it this far in the video, that means I got to be doing something halfway decent, right? If you have any questions about something you saw on this video, seriously, hit me up on IG. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. If you have any other video ideas during the offseason, I am all ears because we are starting to get in July where, guess what? Sometimes news rumors get a little bit stale, and I like to have a lot of fun in the offseason. So please hit me up on IG at Mitchell Renz 365. Some other players that didn't quite make my list, but I thought about putting them on here. Cleveland Ferrell, Damon Arnette, Henry Ruggs, Jonathan Abram, Zay Jones. I mean, the first 4 are pretty simple because, let's face it, they're good players, but they quite haven't lived up to where they were drafted, so that's why they made it. And then for Zay Jones, I didn't quite understand the $1.1 million pay raise for your 5th, maybe your 6th wide receiver on the roster. But you know what? I didn't put just players in this video. I also wanted to throw in Jon Gruden because I didn't know where to put him 5 through 1, but Gruden definitely deserves to be on this list in terms of the worst Raiders contracts. I mean, 10 years, $100 million fully guaranteed, and so far, he's 19-29. Have the Raiders gotten better each year under Gruden? Yes, they have. They went 4-12, 7-9, 8-8. But if I'm going to give somebody 10 years, $100 million guaranteed, I still want to see a little bit more. And even though the Raiders collapsed the last 2 seasons, it's very, very frustrating. But I also am going to continue to bring up this quote because I don't want anybody to ever forget it. Gruden literally said, if I can't get it done, I'm not going to take their money. If he still ends up taking the money, then I would say even more shame on you, Jon Gruden. So 10 years, $100 million guaranteed. What would you guys grade that deal right now as it stands? So 3 seasons, the Raiders have gotten better. 4-12, 7-9, 8-8, but still 0 playoff appearances and 2 really big collapses the last 2 seasons. So A, it's been great. B, it's been good. C, it's average. D, it's bad. F, it's failing. What would you grade Jon Gruden's contract thus far? 10 years, $100 million guaranteed. To be honest with y'all, I'm somewhere around a C. Starting to flirt a little bit with a D because some of the moves in free agency and trades, not the best moves whatsoever. So in terms of the Raiders' worst contracts, though, here are the top 5, I guess, worst ones. Kenyan Drake, he stumbled in at 5. Andre James at 4. Cory Littleton at 3. Jalen Richard at number 2. Carl Nassib at number 1. So in terms of those top 5, which contract do you think is the worst? And if you want to also just type JG for Jon Gruden, I'll allow you to do it. So type KD for Kenyan Drake. Type AJ for Andre James, CL for Cory Littleton, JR for Jalen Richard, CN for Carl Nassib, and JG for Jon Gruden.